It's been 16 years since the first Tony Hawk's Pro Skater came out.
What?
They've finally gotten around to making a fifth one, and he suddenly feels very old.
Oh,
16
where
years,
did
man.
it all go wrong?
16 years.
We're still talking about video games.
1999, man. Crazy.
Tight.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 is out today. By no means the fifth Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game. We played a bunch for this morning. It's come out. It's controversial.
Yeah.
Let's break it down. Okay, Justin, you haven't played any. What will be the first question you have about me and Andy, who have played it a bunch this morning?
Well, I played it a little bit. So why is this the game that's coming back? After, I think people really gravitated towards Skate, to a very different style of controlling. Like Tony Hawk feels like a throwback in a lot of ways. Is this the kind of experience that you guys wanted after how well received Skate was?
I'm a massive fan of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. I'm a huge fan of the Skate series. I think Skate series is probably like top 5 best sports games of all time. Probably in there with Hawk a little bit. I think it's just a matter of that game was very much catering to the skateboarding crowd. Like that was to people who like care about like nailing, a shove it over a 3-stair, as opposed to Tony Hawk, which is kind of this like skate culture melange of like music and like popular skaters and interesting maps and sort of crazy modes and objectives. So to me, it's like, oh, Activision had this thing. This is the right time to bring it back. This and Guitar Hero. Why not?
Oh, God, yeah.
What I'm kind of surprised about is that this is a $60 game, because that game, Tony Hawk's 1 or 2 or 3, incredible games. That game released nowadays isn't this type of experience that you'd, because it's very repeatable, so it doesn't feel like the type of game that you'd spend $60 on now, or would be charged for that. Especially in 2015, when you've got games that are charged 99 cents the whole way up to $50 and everything in between, or 60 and everything in between. So that's the way in which I think this game feels a little bit weird. Does this feel like a $60 game to you so far, Andy?
No, and I know that the HD remake wasn't a $60 game,
Yeah.
and it kind of feels that caliber. Although it like seems to work a little bit better, like overall. But I was actually thinking like, when I was doing, okay, so first point, when I played Tony Hawk 5 for the first time, it was like a couple weeks ago, and we were doing a little demo, and I didn't have it. I was like, what happened? I'm not. And I kind of blamed the game.
Yes, doesn't feel like Tony Hawk's.
Doesn't feel like Tony. And then last week we were working on our big thing about Tony Hawk, and we played a bunch. And we played on PS3, the original game with the like backwards compatibility.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened. I was like, oh, this is 15 years later. My brain's changed, my hands are changed. Like, I can't do this shit. So I was like, okay, so it's not the game, it's me. I just suck really bad.
So have you gotten used to it again?
So
this
now I've
morning?
gotten back into it after playing a lot from the original games. And then this morning we were playing a lot. And like, I'm not nearly as good as you, because you had a lot of like practice with the old games. And you were like slaying those down, and then you're slaying this down. And then it's like, okay, I started picking this back up, started feeling it. And it's like, oh yeah, this feels good.
Yeah,
it
so
feels familiar.
The main
and
change
it works.
I think that they've done is that now when you hit the grind button, it basically slams you down.
Yeah, and we were like, maybe that's bad. But you can correct yourself off of vert ramps where you go off and it's like you're going to land flat.
Yeah.
And then you like, it kind of reorients you and slams you down.
Which is a nice little feature.
good.
But it definitely changes the flow. So like, if you're like whereas before you'd hit triangle to basically queue up a grind, so you do a click, you do a jump, and you're about to hit one, you'd hit triangle, and then by the time you hit it, it knew you hit triangle.
Yeah.
Whereas now if you do it, it basically, almost like snowboarding style, you pressure down to like, sort of, like it slams
Stomp
you
it,
back down to the ground. So that changes up the game a bit. And then outside of that, there's kind of, I guess let's break this down. This is a game where you it's kind of more in the realm of Tony Hawk's 3, where you've got as much time as you want in these areas, and you basically go up to objective markers that are lit around the map, and then there are things like, okay, here's a part where Tony's going to shout moves at you, and you have to do the tricks. Or here's a bit where you have to like do as many manuals as you can in 2 minutes, or get as many vert scores as you want. And in the first level here in the barracks, which is Reynolds' real skate park down in LA, that's like, okay, like these are like tutorial-y kind of objectives that they're trying to teach me. Except then I went to the next level and it was almost the same objectives, just in a different place. Like there was one here when you're in this pool, or sorry, in the barracks, where it's like they fill the pool full of
balls.
Yeah, big inflatable balls, and you have to like skate into them and get rid of them and get them all out. And it's kind of fun. It's like a neat little diversion. Except then I went in School 3, which is like the new version of School 2, and there was a pool inside, and they're like, yeah, but the balls are now sports balls from school, but you still have to get rid of them. So like now I'm a little bit worried that there's like that much repetition happening in it.
And I avoided the like objective-based stuff when I was
Just
playing.
free skating, right?
I was just free skating. I found that to be good, and I was like, oh, this is toned down as far as like like you don't spin as fast. Like I wasn't spinning sevens.
You can't
You're
do
only
like
spinning
double, triple
threes.
kickflips either.
Yeah,
You can't
so-
flick the ball and have it go.
I was like, oh, is this more like skate? Like, is it like some sort of hybrid?
Don't
where
go
I have
crazy.
to like go a little easier and like really plan out your routes. And like, yeah, if you plan out your routes, you'll be rewarded really well and like it'll be awesome. But then I like hit these ramps in school too.
Yeah.
And just like arbitrarily launch you.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was spinning sevens, no problem. And then like when you hit the special, you do like a multiple. You can like it just basically turns all your tricks into specials, which is kind of cool.
Which is weird.
But then those are like more fantastical, where like it's not skate anymore. It's more back to
you do a
Tony
kickflip
Hawk.
and he does a Christ air because
Yeah.
you're in like special mode.
And
So
so it's
like
cool.
that? Is it?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that fun?
Yeah,
It's
yeah, definitely.
different.
I just wasn't sure where the where it was on the spectrum, and now I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's more Tony Hawk.
Yeah.
It's still Tony Hawk. It's just you gotta like find those spots that launch you to in order. I still haven't spun 9. Like I don't know.
It does feel though. I was talking to Jeff Gersman from Giant Bomb right before we came on, and he was saying that they're getting reports. They know that big patch that arrived. The first like day one patch is like as big as the game or whatever, like about 7 gigs. Apparently that has most of the game in it, and it kind of does feel like a game that was finished about a week ago
Yeah.
because like the UI stuff is super weird. Like for instance, if you go up to an objective marker, you have to stop right beside it, like knowing you can't get off the board. You have to stop and then hold down X. It's not like Burnout where you could like go in the realm of it and then hold X and it'll start. You just go right there, and then when you do that, for some reason like the menu swaps from the analog stick to the D-pad, and you're like, okay. And it's the weird stuff like when you start objectives, sometimes I don't have a clue what I'm doing. The first time I kind of have to figure it out for myself. Like there's one where I had to light tiki lamps. And it didn't really tell me anything about where they were, and then I was like, no, you can't, you're outside the objective area, go back here. So it seems very rough around the edges in that
Well,
respect.
the thing that's getting the most attention right now are people having horrible glitches. That's what's getting
Yeah.
shared around on
Yeah, which
video
is
side.
weird.
Is that what you guys have been experiencing?
Not at all.
No, I think we've seen one in the past 2 hours, but then
Yeah.
we've only been so we haven't been playing online, and we've also not been doing the
Maybe that's a big one.
and we've not been doing the like we've been
Creative
doing
mode.
the
Creative
yeah.
park.
So all the created levels apparently that's where that's
That's
happening.
where the
so there's a
collision's
Eurogamer video
bad,
out
yeah.
where people are going through the floor and all that sort of stuff, but I haven't seen that happen in the 3 levels that we've played anyway. So it doesn't seem like
yeah.
the total hot mess that the internet's making it out to
No,
be.
not at all.
But it's also
Is it a $60 mess?
it's like man,
whatever.
if this is like Peter's reviewing it for us. This is real like middle of the road. I'm enjoying it because it's like a big nostalgia hit.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely enjoying this and will genuinely probably try and like 100% this game. Like
Really?
kinda. Like
Oh,
I'm,
man.
I'm into
I
it
just
even
like free
if
skating. I don't know if I'll ever do the missions, man.
Maybe.
I
The
mean, you have to
music's good.
unlock the levels though. So I guess I will if
you
I
have
ever.
to do that with the
not
same
play on your
skater.
account.
It's weird though because they have things like create a skater mode. There's no like slot for you to create somebody. You just have to edit an existing skater, which seems weird. It's just super light in
I'll
terms
just
of
edit
like
Andrew
features.
Reynolds to be
Yeah.
Andrew Bauman.
It's like I don't really like Nigel Houston. I guess I'll just change. I'm about the same height as him. I'll
Yeah.
just do that. You
YOLO
know?
County.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like I feel like I'm enjoying it mostly out of the fact that I'm a big Tony Hawk's Pro Skater fan,
Yeah.
and also because I think I came in with this with such low expectations that I'm actually kind of pleasantly surprised that it's kind of all right.
So maybe not the best introduction though for people who don't have that nostalgia hit, who didn't grow up with Tony Hawk.
No,
Who knows? I can't. I don't.
I don't even know who that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
Like
that
maybe.
you?
Not what I grew up
played?
with. Skate or Die.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, hell yeah. I have
Does that make you
too.
feel a little bit younger?
No, that makes me just feel older now. It's like older.
So
Because
yeah,
I played Skate or Die.
it's I'm very interested to see what reviews for this game are because I can see it like sliding completely on opposite ends, and it's kind of like what we were talking about the card games earlier. So much of it goes down to what Andy was saying at the start. Like, does this feel right?
Yeah.
Does this feel like I'm in control of what's happening?
Easily blame the game for being terrible.
Now, I just went over to Dan Reichert and he was like, "This does not feel like a Tony Hawk game to me."
Yeah, but see, he's remembering wrong, I bet. Because that happened to me. I was
It's like when you go back and play Resident Evil and you're like, "Oh man, this is like impossible to control." I totally forgot that games, or like the original Tomb Raider.
Like games were shit.
The version you have in your head of how the original Tomb Raider played is like totally different
Dude.
to the reality of it. So I wonder if
The game looks very arcadey, and that's kind of what I remember as Tony Hawk being an arcadey version of this kind of game. And Feels like it's going to live up to that.
Yeah, I just worry that I really don't think it's a $60 game.
Is it going to be
Right.
better than Tony Hawk Ride when you had that
Yes.
the controller that was the skateboard?
I can confirm right now that it is better than Tony Hawk Ride and
that the last
Shred.
one?
Shred was the last
Last
one.
one?
Yeah, I think that had snowboarding in it as well.
Oh, tight. I should
yeah.
play that.
There's a snowboarding level in it. Well, there's a
mountain
snow level.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think we have to
Gotta
play
unlock it,
some
though.
more and unlock them all and see how the rest of it plays. But yeah, for early adopters, this really does not feel like a $60 proposition. But I guess we'll find out what GameSpot.com thinks real soon. Peter Ban is reviewing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. And that review will be up sometime this week. I think he's got a lot more playing to do because we didn't get an early copy as well, which is always a little bit of a concern. But if you've played it or seen people play it or are a big fan of the series or looking to get into it, let us know what you think in the chat and in the comment box below.